Good morning. Today is Friday. It is Daled Nisan. Is that right?
Yeah.
Today's Daled Nisan, Tovshin Ein Daled. We are in the Rebbe's Mamar in Teres Menachem Sefer Mamar Tovshin Yud Aleph Tovshin Yud Beis. Mamar Kimei Tziescho Mes Mitzrayim of Achron Shal Pesach Tovshin Yud Beis. We are up to page Reish Samach Vov by the paragraph beginning V'yesh Levayir. The Rebbe explained there are two types of miracles: miracles that are beyond nature, that defy nature, and miracles that are clothed in nature. The Rebbe explained that within miracles that are clothed in nature, there are two subcategories: miracles that are clothed in nature in a way that we can see that they are miracles, and miracles that are clothed in nature in such a manner that we can't even see the miracle. The Rebbe then went on to explain that in nature itself, there is also a, so to speak, miraculous aspect, and that is the constancy in nature. The fact that nature operates constantly in the same way now as it did at the beginning of creation, and also the fact that the different created beings, as it were, exist either in their original state or in the species. So there's a constancy within nature which never stops, and that is a revelation of an unlimited godly force. However, in nature, the unlimited godly force is clothed and concealed, as it were, within the limited aspects of nature, and therefore you need you need contemplation. You need to delve into this idea in order to arrive to the recognition that there is an unlimited godly force here as well. Whereas when it comes to a miracle, it's obviously an unlimited godly force. Where does this aspect of nature, within nature, this unlimited aspect of nature, where does that come from? Nature and everything that's within it, within creation, is a manifestation, is a result of being related to a limited godly force. So where does the unlimited aspect of the godly force come from? Right? That's what the Rebbe addresses in the next section. We can explain this. What this? The unlimited aspect within the limited finite character of nature. We can explain this based on that which is written in the Hemshech, the continuation of Ma'amorim, of Hasidic discourses, in the great work of the Rebbe Rashab of Tafresh Sabachvov, which is a compilation, I think, of 61 or 66 Ma'amorim, discourses that are a continuation, one from another. He explains over there the Rebbe Rashab, he explains the phenomenon that in the conduct of nature we find the idea of constancy. What's the problem? Why would this be an issue? Why does this need explanation? Because nature comes from the godly energy that is clothed within creatures. And as mentioned in the previous section of this chapter, the godly life force that clothes itself within created beings, within creation, the creatures, is a limited godly life force. So where do we get this unlimited aspect in that context? So the Rebbe Rashab explains, because the root of the divine energy that is clothed within creatures does not emanate from the vessels, but rather from the divine light of the line, which is rooted in, which stems from God's infinite light before the contraction. To use the Kabbalistic terminology, Hashem creates the world via the 10 spheres. He uses the 10 divine attributes to create the world. These divine attributes are made up of two components, the kelim and the oiris, the vessels, as it were, that limit, just like a vessel limits what is contained within it. The vessels limit the godly oir, energy that is within the kelim, within the vessels. The root of the godly oir, the divine energy that is clothed within the kelim, within the vessels of the 10 spheres, is from the oir hakav, which is from the oir hakav is the light of the line. That's the literal translation. What is the line? So it says in Kabbalah that when Hashem decided He wants to create the world, He drew down, as it were, from Himself an oir Ein Sof, an infinite light, and within this infinite light, within this infinite energy, there was a tzimtzum, there was a contraction. He pushed, as it were, metaphorically speaking, the divine light to the side, and what remained was a cholul b'kamponi, a void, and He then drew down into the void divine energy from the unlimited godly light, which that's known as oir hakav, the light of the line, as it were. It's a line because it is responsible for the different levels, ultimately, from Chachma through Malchus and so on and so forth, and all the different realms. And that oir hakav then becomes the divine energy which ultimately clothes itself in the 10 spheres, in the 10 divine attributes. Now, if the divine energy that Hashem drew down into the void is from the same oir, from the same level of unlimited light that existed before the contraction, before the void came into being, what's the point? So therefore it says in the Kabbalah, Chassidus brings this, that the tzimtzum was in a lower aspect of the divine energy, of the Ein Sof, the contraction. Contraction was in the lower aspects of the Ein Sof Shelif Net Tzimtzum, in the infinite light. The Kav, in order to break through this new phenomena of a void, so to speak, you need a stronger energy, which was not which couldn't be pushed away through the contraction. So in other words, the tzimtzum, contraction, just touched those aspects of Ein Sof, which the tzimtzum could push to the side, so to speak. It made a void. The tzimtzum brought about a void in the aspects of the Ein Sof, which could be affected by the tzimtzum. In order to now draw down Ein Sof into the void that was created, it's from an unlimited divine energy of Ein Sof, which is more powerful than the tzimtzum that brought about the void. That's also it's a logical thing. You have a force that could push. Just imagine a force that could hold back. Take for example a dam, right? So to the extent of the size of the body of water, that will determine how strong you need to have the dam, how big the dam should be, right? If there is greater weight, greater volume of water, so to speak, the dam will have to be stronger. If you build a dam to withhold X amount of volume of water, and suddenly there's what? A greater influx of water, as it were, what happens? The dam breaks. Similarly, when we talk about tzimtzum, so the tzimtzum managed to push away, as it were, metaphorically speaking, those aspects of Ein Sof, that level of Ein Sof, that dimension of Ein Sof, which the tzimtzum could affect in that way, to move it to the side, as it were, to leave a void. Now, when a new divine energy breaks through the void that was created through the tzimtzum, it means it comes from a higher aspect of Ein Sof. Tigboiris, an infusion of greater force, as it were. Right? So let's see how he says it inside. So the source of the divine energy which is clothed in creatures is not from the vessels of the spheres, but from the oir hakav. Right? From the divine energy of the kav. Where is the root of the oir hakav? From the Ein Sof Shelif Net Tzimtzum, from the God's divine energy from before the contraction. Okay, mevur bekama mekaymes is explained in a number of places in Chassidus. The sheresh hakelim u'matzimtzum atzmai, that kelim, where do vessels of the 10 spheres come from? from the tzimtzum itself, from the actual contraction. V'sherish hakav, where's the root of the kav? Hu me'ein sof shalifnei hatzimtzum. Comes from the divine energy which precedes the contraction. It's just that it is drawn down through the tzimtzum. As is written in Eitz Chaim, then after the contraction, Hashem drew down from His infinite light, one line, one straight line, from His transcendent light, from the eagle. Eagle is the circle, as it were. That's the transcendent divine energy which precedes the tzimtzum. It's known the fact that the kav broke through the darkness of the contraction, right? Tzimtzum draws down the kav, so it breaks through the darkness of the contraction. Any breaking through emanates from a greater forceful power. That's why it breaks through. Similarly here also, the reason why the kav could break through the darkness of the tzimtzum is because of tikberes and an additional infusion of force, which means a stronger power of divine energy. It's because this divine energy that is being drawn down through the tzimtzum is rooted in a level called tiferes hane'elam. The concealed tiferes. It's tiferes of Eidus of Shalifnei Tzimtzum. Tzimtzum, I believe, took place where in Malchus hane'elam, if you want to use technical terms. The kav, the additional force of the kav comes from tiferes hane'elam. So it's able to break through. This Eira Kav, which now breaks through the darkness of the Tzimtzum, is from a dimension which is higher than the divine light that was revealed and shined and shone before the Tzimtzum. According to this, we can explain. We're not going to be able to articulate it inside because we're going to have to start davening. But the point that Rebbe is going to make, so now, how does that play out in the constancy of nature and miracles? So he says like this: miracles come from Eidus of Shalifnei Tzimtzum, or to use a more generic term, from Eir HaSovev, from Hashem's transcendent light, Hashem's transcendent energy, right? But it comes from a Hashem's transcendent energy which is beyond the world and cannot clothe itself in the world. So therefore, when a miracle manifests itself, it either breaks away, it breaks apart nature, it overrides nature, it overpowers nature. Let's use that because it's easier to contrast them. Whereas when you have an Ein Sof, which comes from Livnei Tzimtzum and through the Kav, because it is through the Kav, and ultimately it fuses with what? With the Kelim, with the Esespheres. Therefore, that aspect of Hashem's unlimited light, which is within the Kav, when it comes and when it functions within nature, that's responsible for the constancy of nature. Right? So although now the Kav goes through the Tzimtzum, and then ultimately, through the multiple manifestations and Ishtalshalus, right? Ultimately ends up in where? In the Esespheres of Atzilus. But it still retains that unlimited aspect within it, from where it's rooted. Where is it rooted? In the Tiferes HaNe'elam, right? And that is because of that it's able to break through the darkness of the Tzimtzum. So that in infiniteness, which is always retained within the Eir, which clothes itself in the Spheres, that's why it's responsible. That's why you have constancy in nature. You have nature, why? Because what you have is a limited force, Chochmah, Chesed, and so on and so forth. But each one of these Eiris within the Esespheres retain the unlimited aspect, albeit in a very essential form, as it were, right? And what's dominant now is more the limited aspects. But since it retains that unlimited aspect from its root, from Tiferes HaNe'elam, so therefore, when you get this Spheres, and when it ends up in creation, so what you see is what? Limitation. Limited creatures. But you still have within that an unlimited aspect, and that is what? The constancy within creation and within nature. That's the point that it makes. Mitzvah Shem will go back to it on Sunday morning, and we'll hopefully finish the Eis and elaborate a little further.